In the 15th century, Ottoman Turks had a strong presence in Europe. They imposed a military blockade on Eastern Europe, thus forcing Europe's attention westward. Western Europeans used the compass, new sailing technologies, new maps, and advances in astronomy to seek a viable alternative trade route to Asia. They wanted to explore a route which would be uncontested by the Mediterranean powers.
The Portuguese were the first to start the process of historical exploration of Africa first and then Asia. In fact, an historical event, the consequence of that is understood much later. When the event is unfolding, the significance of it most often cannot be gauged. In fact, the Portuguese started the process of the political penetration of Asia and Africa and the New World. It also started the process whereby the whole world became the economic hinterland of Europe. It became a Eurocentric world in the real sense of the term. We also find the penetration of Christianity as a part of the cultural imperialism that was unleashed because of these geographical explorations.
Portugal, with her long shoreline, dotted with harbors and rivers flowing westwards to the Atlantic Ocean, produced generations of adventurous seamen. The Portuguese became the natural leaders of exploration in the 15th and 16th centuries.
We find that when these explorations were taking place, the much more important concept of the heliocentric universe was relegated to the background. What was much more important was the discoveries. The discoveries because it provided different opportunities for different sets of people. For Luther, it meant the spread of the gospel in these new areas. We find that during that time, if you look at the history of that period, the Turks were much more important as far as the Europeans were concerned in comparison to the Chinese and the Indians. Now, most often we feel, it's a kind of an assumption of ours that an important historical event has an important historical cause. But this is not the case with the Portuguese exploration of Africa, because the Portuguese exploration of Africa started with a much more or seemingly unimportant because of a seemingly unimportant reason. It was a desire colored by the crusading emotion and justified by the missionary zeal to find gold in Africa.
Portugal made significant shipping advances with the introduction of the carracks and caravels. These ships could leave the relatively placid or calm Mediterranean, Baltic or North Sea and sail safely in the open Atlantic.
The Portuguese descent on the African coast, which began in 1415 with the capture of a place called Ceuta or Ceuta, you can call it anything. And this starts the long struggle of Christianity and Islam and an attempt to reach the sources of an ancient and well-known trade route or trade in gold.
The first great wave of navigation